All right, good morning. I wanted to shoot a quick video about some tomato pruning. See the garden, we wouldn't hurt to get a little bit of rain. Ignore the fact I need to take the mower here when the grass dries out and go between the plots. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about, I do very heavy pruning on my tomato plants, and a lot of people when I talk to people about that and they ask me why, even people who have been growing tomatoes for a long time, a lot of people don't realize that tomatoes are a vine. And so therefore you can train them on a trellis, and even so, if they weren't, they wouldn't sell bush varieties. So same thing with like your beans. You have pole beans and you have a bush variety beans, and so I prune my tomatoes back really heavy. One of the reasons for this is the sun leaves that are on there. Once your blossoms start coming on, most of them aren't needed, and so they just take up resources that need to be going to the fruit, and your plants will be fine without it. You can see I don't have these big bushy plants that, pound for pound, if anybody wants to put their plant up against mine, just the plant itself with no fruit on it, they'll win. They'll have these big bushy beautiful tomato bushes that don't produce much fruit, because it's all the energy is going to the plant. So another reason for doing this heavy pruning, I found a hornworm this morning, and trying to get out of my light here, if you can see the blossoms all up and down that stem, just loaded. This thing, these vines, in another week or so, we'll come out here and look, and they will just have blossoms, just tomatoes going. Look at all that, all the way up and down that stem. All of that energy going up that stem is getting to those blossoms and producing fruit, instead of being wasted on a bunch of leaves. And I'll come back this evening and I'll train these a little bit better and tie them off some more. But been kind of busy with the bees and got to get caught up. Still getting caught up from the rain. But so another reason, tomatoes need air. They need air. They need light. They love that steamy, the hot nights. That's what ripens up tomatoes. They thrive in that steamy nights that we have, like last night. There's just dew is thick on the ground, and so the tomato plants are loving it. The fruit's loving it. But sunlight is not what ripens up your tomatoes. Sunlight is actually what will toughen up the skins on them. But if they don't get enough water, but if they're getting plenty of water, you don't have to worry about it. So I do these very heavy prunings, and so it gets the air circulation that it needs. It helps fight disease, because I'm cutting down on the number of leaves on the plant that are that become susceptible to the diseases, so I don't get all that going on. But mainly I can see the hornworms, and by the time most people realize that they have hornworms on their plant, it's too late and their plant is gone. So I found one today. They're the same color as your tomato stalk of the vine, same color, and they'll hide, and they'll come and they'll chew your leaves, and they'll feed on your plant. Before you know it, you've lost your entire tomato plant to hornworms. But when you go in like this and you get your plants looking like this, then what you can see, all the leaves on the ground, where I've gone in and just trimmed off all those unnecessary sun leaves that can cause your disease and all that stuff. So you can see all that laying around there. So I get to see my plants from top to bottom. I get all that good energy going to the fruit. I trim off most of, look at all those leaves, see that? So I trim off most of what would be susceptible to that disease. Most people look at this, look at my plants when they're like this, and they just cringe. They can't imagine going in and trimming up. They're beautiful tomato shrubbery, but I want tomatoes. I don't want shrubs. I want tomatoes. So I will go back and I'll trim off anything below the blossoms, and as they go, and I'll leave enough plant at the top so that it's still got to send energy up to keep that plant growing, and they'll vine up. Some of these plants will, before the season's over, they'll be 7 and 8 feet. The indeterminate varieties are the ones that'll just keep on growing, keep on producing fruit. And there's ones I've seen people that have them indoors in the right conditions, that they have plants growing up 2 stories that are 20 years old and just keep producing fruit. It's a vine. So the determinate types are the ones that'll put out a certain amount of tomatoes for a certain amount of time, and then you will not get any more. So make sure when you read the tag, it's not a determinate, that it's an indeterminate if you want it to keep producing throughout the season. And if you don't want if you want the vining type like this, make sure it's not a bush variety, and you can go through and train it on a trellis. The red on there, I know I'm going to get questions about that. I put these red ornaments, Christmas ornaments on there. And what that does, I put those on there early. The birds came in and they pecked around at the ribbon, they pecked around at the red ornaments, and discovered they weren't fruit. And so now they're not interested in anything over here, because anything that's red, they're now not interested in it. So that's a good deterrent too. But the red also brings in pollinators. I've got honeybees, but we've got hives right here, so we have an abundance of pollinators. But if you don't, and you put some color out in your garden, I've got some yellow ribbons out on tops of other trellises, and blue and white, and it'll help attract those pollinators to come on into your garden a little bit early and start snooping around and feeding. So that's it for my tomatoes 101. I am not a horticulturalist, but I am a successful gardener, and I'm proud of my garden. It produces fantastic amounts of produce every year, and corn will be ready. That is you can see down there, that'll be ready on the 28th, and that is the Honey Select Triple Sweet Corn. That ended my search for the perfect sweet corn. It is all the right conditions, good thick stalks. It's a yellow variety. It's sweeter than sweet cream or Silver Queen, sweeter than peaches and cream, and it doesn't have those spindly little stalks that blow over real easy in the wind. So I hope you enjoyed. Don't be afraid to prune your tomato plants back. It'll help you prevent disease and prevent hornworms. So once you start doing it and get comfortable with it, you can see these clusters starting to come up, just blossoms all the way up the stalks on these. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Talk to you later.